I will race the Rotterdam Marathon on April the 14th. This is only my third week of training in Kenya yet.
I will prepare here in Kenya for 4 full months towards my debut marathon. The race is still far away, however, in this video I will give some insights on my taper strategy.
Tapering is a delicate balance between reducing fatigue and maintaining fitness levels to perform on your peak during race day. In this video I will also cover the topic on how fast we lose shape during tapering or detraining.
So basically, laying on the couch or in bed.
I think a lot of runners can get a lot fresher or fitter to the starting line than they think. Feel free to comment down below in the comments on my own taper strategy, which I will go over later in this video. But why do we taper anyway, and what are the main benefits? The first reason is to reduce physical and mental fatigue from hard or high volume of training.
Your physical and mental fatigue are linked to each other. You need to have a fresh body and mind to perform at your best.
Second, muscle repair and recovery. Tapering provides an opportunity for the muscles to repair from micro damage caused by training.
This helps reduce the risk of overuse injuries and ensures that muscles are in optimal condition on race day. Your heart is also a muscle we most often forget, and it's very important to transport blood and therefore oxygen to your muscles. It needs to rest as well.
And last, restoration of your glycogen stores. Tapering allows for your muscles to store extra glycogen. Glycogen is a very important energy source, especially for long distance events like the half marathon or full marathon.
Reduced training intensity allows the muscles to replenish these stores more effectively. If you don't turn down your volume enough, it's harder for the muscles to refill the glycogen stores.
While it also might be beneficial to run a little bit before your race day to maximize the glycogen storage. However, I'll come back later to this on the end of this video in my taper strategy. Before we dive into my own taper strategy, I want to go over some scientific research about detraining or not training at all and how this affects your fitness. In general, most research focuses on a period of 3 to 4 weeks of detraining. However, in the first 2 or 3 days you will not lose fitness. However, after 1 or 2 weeks of inactivity, already some fitness or performance loss starts to occur. Here's what I found out so far. The first interesting thing I found out is that your blood volume already starts to decrease in 2 days of inactivity. This I wasn't aware of before.
The paper named Detraining Loss of Training-Induced Physiological and Performance Adaptations, Part 1, Short-Term Insufficient Training Stimulus, stated that the decline in cardiovascular function by not exercising is largely due to reduced blood volume. Total blood volume in plasma have been shown to decline by 5 to 12% in endurance athletes already within the 2 days of inactivity. This is quite a lot. More research backed these numbers up. However, your heart is better rested after 2 days of inactivity as well, and will be able to counterbalance these effects somewhat in the first few days. In a taper, it's crucial to find a balance between losing fatigue and not too much blood volume, in my opinion. Looking at your VO2 max, most research looks at a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks of detraining. For example, this paper about the effects of short and long-term detraining on maximal oxygen uptake in athletes shows that after 30 days your VO2 max declines at 4%, but it's not that much though. So resting a few days will not even decrease your VO2 max by more than 1%. Also performance-wise, detraining or tapering has been researched. Most often in soccer players, where a lot of research is involved in. This paper I found named Effects of Short-Term In-Season Break Detraining or Repeated Sprint Ability and Intermittent Endurance according to initial performance of soccer players. It was a pretty interesting paper. In a group of well-trained professional elite soccer players, no significant loss was noticed during a shuttle run test after 2 weeks of detraining. So no effect on intermittent or shorter endurance tests.
It's also good to mention that some detraining effects are not the same as in well-trained elite athletes or in beginners who just started training for several weeks or months. In general, we see that elite athletes try to remain peak fitness and their VO2 max drops much faster in the first few weeks than, for example, a beginner. However, for the elite athlete, the base level for the VO2 max is of course much higher.
A last note I promised to tackle at the beginning of this video, looking at the figure from a paper named Fundamentals of Glycogen Metabolism for Coaches and Athletes. You can see how fast your glycogen stores are refilled and how they roughly look during training and taper. Your glycogen stores take quite some time to refill. although in better trained athlete the refill goes probably faster. During continuous training, your glycogen stores are lower in general, and during less training, in for example a taper, glycogen stores can be filled. To maximize your glycogen storage, some small depletion of the stores by a small run can optimize your peak glycogen storage, as shown in this figure. And the more glycogen stored in your muscles, the more and farther you can push in a long distance event.
Let's now go over my own taper strategy. I see a lot of runners who don't take rest days at all and only drop their volume slightly before the race, or take rest days 2 to 3 days out before the race. I also used to do this, however, now I used to take my rest days already 5 to 10 days out before the race. This new strategy also makes sense based on the findings. So your blood level already starts to decrease in 48 hours or less. So taking a lot of rest before the race can make your blood volume go down, which you don't want before the race. And your glycogen stores refill more optimally with less running. However, as we saw in the figure, you can optimize your glycogen stores or maximize your glycogen storage with some shorter runs instead of taking full rest days.
Here you see the figure I made in my book Breaking Boundaries, for an example of volume of running in the last 8 days before a race. You see, I take full rest days early in the week instead of the last days before the race. I will also do this for the marathon, probably taking a full rest day already 11 or 10 days out, and the last one 5 days out of the race. In my opinion, this way you avoid blood plasma loss and muscle stiffness just before the race, let's say in the last 48 hours, while gaining the benefits of losing fatigue, storing maximal glycogen by doing some short runs or strides before the race.
I hope this information about my own taper strategy, detraining, and your glycogen storage will help you to optimize your own taper strategy. If you have any questions or some tips for my taper strategy, please leave them down below in the comments. And as always, if you still got it today, have fun and get on the run.